let's do this. All right. Welcome to the Good Hang podcast with your hosts, Ariane and Julien, for your weekly dose of battery-filling conversation. Today, we have the beautiful Chloe Lallouz, our first guest. I'm so excited. So Julien, to tell you a little bit about why I invited Chloe today, we are great friends. We're really close now, but we're recent friends. We actually met this summer around the Just for Laughs festival. So you both performed at the Just for Laughs festival outdoors, if you didn't know.
Nice, I did not know.
Yeah, she performed with Flotico, and it was an awesome set. We got to bring the entire Latin community and collective to the stage, and it was just fucking awesome. It was really cool. And Julien performed with his band, the Flamingos Pink, and it was electrifying. It was such a cool show. It started raining at the end, but everyone just stayed outside and kept dancing. And I was so proud to get to book like some local talent. So it was a huge win. And more interestingly about that is how Chloe and I actually became friends. So we met through this actual event, but you know how connections. So we're talking on this podcast about, you know, making new connections, making new friends. And one thing that I like to do with social media is I like to, I guess you could use the word like attract what I want more of. So I post things I like to do. So I posted about tennis, and then she reached out and was like, oh, do you want to play? And at first, like, I'm always like, well, have you played before?
I have a different version of this story, but
go ahead.
No, it's okay.
Okay, I'll go. And then but it was kind of funny because 3 of my friends had asked me to play tennis, and I said no because I know they had never played. And playing tennis with people who never played tennis is like playing.
You want to get a sweat in, you want to play, you want to compete.
Yo, it's like playing volleyball with children.
It's
like
really annoying.
It's fucking annoying. It's fucking annoying.
I get it.
And
so you do play tennis?
I do.
No, she does.
Since I was a kid.
And she's good. So she just kind of she's like, when are you playing? And I was like, okay, let's do this. And it was just so funny because the first time we played, it was like we weren't like trying to be friends. We were just playing tennis, like barely talking, and almost like if I play with a guy, I become like super competitive, and I'm like, I'm gonna fucking kill you. But then we're like, no, it's your turn. No, it's okay. It's your point. Like it was like we were so uncomfortable with each other until one point where like I mentioned a podcast that I listen to sometimes, which is like my woo-woo side a little bit, and then right away she knew what I was talking about, and then from that moment on we kind of got into our conversations about like spirituality and all this different stuff. And
well, I saw you had the eye ring.
I do. I have a lot of them.
Yeah.
Shout out Santa Isla.
Nice.
But yeah, I definitely like the evil eye. Just kind of keep everything good vibes.
In check.
Yeah, exactly.
We have that too. So I'm half Egyptian.
Okay.
So we had the eye
I feel
protecting
like a
us.
lot of different cultures have a version of, right? So like Egyptian, Moroccan, North African, even Mediterranean, because I know the Greeks also
Italians.
have, everybody has their version of it.
I'm half Italian, half Egyptian, half Italian.
There you go.
Full Mediterranean.
So you're evil-eyed up. Yeah, so it's pretty, it's cool. But yeah, no, sorry, it wasn't an alternate, different story.
yeah, she's
It's
like,
the
I
same
didn't want
story.
nothing to do with her.
No. I just had the same thought process where I saw that she posted she plays tennis, and I was like, ugh, I hope she's good, because if I ask her to play and then she's not good, then it's gonna be really
judge
annoying.
her. It's gonna be really annoying.
So it was just like, oh, but finally she's really good and I'm really good, and we have a good tennis synergy.
We do. Like we got better quickly playing together. But it was funny because I feel like in life, so many people meet through like they spot someone, they're like, I want to become friends with this person, and then I'll match like what they put out so that they'll like me. But I feel like we were both just like, I just want to play tennis.
Yeah.
Like,
like no one was trying to be friends.
Yeah. And it just kind of happened naturally. And I thought it was like so funny. And we talk about how like we both became friends. It's like through such a bigger group of friends, but you always notice like, oh, who am I? Like, do I tend to go towards that we can like talk about ideas and different stuff, and the conversation would always be like, oh, this is the kind of stuff I want to talk about, and it's always battery filling.
So you're friends for 6 months now?
Yeah, we traveled together.
Like, wait, it's only been 6 months? I feel like it's been longer than that.
It's weird, but I feel like we connected deeply quickly, which is cool, which I feel in my 30s, that's how like my relationships have been.
Well, you said something last time
Yeah.
we spoke, because this is not the first time we meet.
No.
You said something about it being hard. It's hard to make new friends in your 30s.
Yeah.
Like to
think
meet
so, too.
people that you vibe with and you want to hang out again. So it's not easy. So I definitely know that when it connects, it feels nice. But sports is just the best way to maintain healthy body, healthy mind, hang out with friends, like just get it all out.
Yeah.
I didn't know you were a DJ. So do you like, is there a parallel between the fact that it's a solo sport and it's a solo kind of music thing?
You know, that's a good point. Now that we're psychoanalyzing me, no, I'm joking. Yeah, you know, I never really thought about that. I guess I enjoy tennis. Most of the sports that I play are like solo sports. I guess like I'm a kickboxer as well. Like I kickbox for the past 8 years, which is also like a solo thing. Well, I mean, you have your like sparring partner, but
No,
it's
for
also
sure. But
pretty solo.
in the focus aspect is like,
I think it's more that it's not so much whether I want to like socialize while playing sports as much as it is really focusing on something and like being this like meditative flow state while I'm doing something. So whether that's playing tennis or kickboxing or DJing or whatever the case may be, I like to be like painting. I paint as well.
Do you actively try to get into a flow state?
No, I think I'm drawn to specific things, or I've been drawn to specific things. It's just like kind of like a pull that I'll follow, and then as I get into that thing, then I kind of fall into a flow state. It doesn't always happen, but the best times, like let's say when I'm painting or I'm creating music or whatever it is that I'm doing, when I am in that flow state, that's when I feel the most connected to whatever I'm doing. So I do happen to get, like, I wouldn't say a meditative state per se, but definitely like this kind of like very flowing energy.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Actually, that leads me to one question that I had in mind, is that you're both artists, but both people who do all types of things. Like, how did you know, like for you playing the drums, or for you like DJing, this is the art I'm going to lean into right now. Like, this is it. I'm feeling like this has an identity of some sort. Like,
it's funny because drums, I was always drawn to drums. I don't know if I'm loud or it's because I'm drawn to drums because they're loud, or I'm loud, but there's something there.
Yeah.
And there's something that I find with drums is extremely primal. And ever since I'm a kid, I had a lot of energy. And it was just like an immediate tap into that energy inside and release. And so I never really questioned it. Plus, my father was a drummer.
okay.
And I had a drummer uncle as well. So drums were around, which is rare when you think about it, because most kids, you know, if you ask your parents who don't know music, hey, I want to learn drums, it's like, start with the keyboard.
It's too loud.
No, yeah.
I'm triangle, like something like
Anything else,
Yeah.
en fait. It's the last on the list.
Yeah.
But they were around, and I was loud. They were accessible. I was never told to be quiet. Like,
Cool.
Interesting.
It was en fait, when I had when I had too much energy, my mother would tell me, go to the basement and expel your energy and like
I like that.
calm down. Yeah. And I think I didn't realize till much later on that it's a way for me to really channel my energy.
Mhm.
And then you actively try to zone in on that.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, the dancing aspect, it's like you're the heartbeat. When you're playing and the whole room is vibing to your bass drum, it's like, I'm your heart, you're my heart. We're doing
There's
this.
an energetic exchange that happens there that's really special. I think the same thing for DJing as well. It's kind of like there's like this energetic exchange that happens between you and the crowd, that is really, really special.
But I was always drawn to it. It's like it's always been a part of my identity, but it's also always been a part of my life. Drums. Like, I can't really remember a time where, like, I brought drums to show and
Like,
tell.
you didn't question, am I good at this? Like,
No, because drums is a question of you got to lean into it. It's like self-confidence, but through repetition, because it's like, here's the pattern. If you waver, then everyone knows. So you learn to kind of like separate.
But to that point,
No, go ahead.
point about like being good at something or not, I think I've kind of adopted and come to terms with the fact that like when you start something, most of the time you are not good. No one is good at something.
That's such a like, I'm so happy you're saying that, because it's so funny. I was telling him before, I feel like my parents sent me to art school hoping that I would sing one time and be Celine Dion, and they're like, perfect, you can pursue this. But if you don't get it right away, they're like, actually, no, you're not going to do this, so study science. Or even like, I'll look at like TikTok girls do their roller in their hair. That's just what I'm thinking about, because it took me 10 years to figure this out.
Your hair looks good.
Thanks. But it's funny because I had to do it 12 times before I kind of got it. And you don't realize when you see someone do it perfectly in a video or something that maybe they took a while. But sorry, go ahead.
No,
You're going to say.
So just to Julian's point. Well, for me, it was kind of the opposite. My family I also come from a line of artists and musicians from Morocco, on my dad's side. And I actually was not leaning into those things as much because in my mind, it wasn't serious. It was too creative. Like, it was a hobby. It wasn't something that I could pursue professionally, or at least I didn't feel like I could allow myself to pursue professionally. There's a whole thing behind that, but like I won't get into it today. But so I kind of like, it was always like a side thing. Like, I've always been into music. I've always loved music. I've always kind of like going back, always curated playlists or burned CDs. I was like that friend that was like, oh, I burned you a CD or whatever. Like, you know, I'm that old.
I'm the opposite. I listen to the same thing all the time. Like, don't ask me for new music. I'm not that person. I like people who make me discover new music, but like I hyper analyze something.
Right.
Like, I'll listen to this song 30 times in a row and try to understand. It's not, and I don't read music. Like, I didn't go to music school ever. I never took a single lesson. But it's just how things interact with each other, and like you zone in on each instrument. My dad used to tell us in the car, he's like, okay, we put the same song, now listen to the bass. Now listen to the horns.
Wow.
Now listen to the drums. Yeah. But I mean, I guess that stuck.
That's really special.
But so the thing about talent is that, like, I was reading Rick Rubin's book. I mean, I read it a couple times, but
she reads.
I read a lot.
She reads.
I have a book club.
She has a book club. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's how you like make friends, man.
Absolutely.
I was just reading a lot, and then I don't know, people wanted to read
I'm
with
interested.
Me,
Oh wow. Okay. I have book questions.
Yeah. So he talks about talent actually, and he talks about talent not really being a thing, like it not being it being inexistent, in the sense that everybody starts somewhere, and you're not good when you start whatever you start. And I think if you start with that mindset of you're not going to be good when you start, it actually allows you to open the space to give yourself grace and learn something properly, and know that there's going to be a time frame for it that you're not going to be great, but you're going to get better and better and better at it. Whereas if you think like, okay, I want to pick this up, and then you're not good at it, it may discourage you, and you're be like, okay, I don't want to do this anymore.
Absolutely.
So if you start something, you're like, oh, I'm not that good, but like if I keep at it, I know it will get better and better and better. Well, then you actually continue. It's a realistic, expectation. Your expectations are realistic, as opposed to being like, I'm gonna be Picasso, and then picking up a brush and sucking, and then being like, this isn't for me.
This isn't it. Let me go to the next thing. It's true. Well, because I feel like if I take some examples, like with sports, like first time I wakeboarded, I got it. And I just like got up, and then after people would come to my house and they would try it and they couldn't do it. And I was,
please teach us how to wakeboard.
Yeah, and I was just like, just get up.
Wakeboard god.
Yeah.
First time, you're the best.
Just get up.
just fucking get up. But it was funny because like it was so easy that then I was like, okay, no, I just get it. But then when I tried surfing or skateboarding, it was like the hardest thing. Like my body, the science, I just didn't get it. And it's so much easier to give up when you're like not good at something right away. But that because you've seen things that you were good at right away before, kind of thing, versus kind of diving into it. Because I know I have friends that it's like, even we're doing board games, like they panic. They're like, I've never played. I don't want to play. Like you're like, bro,
anxiety in board
is this
games
how you live your life? Like that's crazy.
You could tell a lot about someone, how they react, and like
no kidding.
trying something new.
And because that's how they're going to approach anything you ever mention to them that
Are you
unfamiliar.
Are you a righty or a lefty?
Righty.
Are you too?
Lefty.
Yeah. Interesting. I am trying to become a left-handed person now.
So you want to be ambidextrous?
Well, I
He's
brush
like,
my
I'm too
teeth.
good at shit.
No.
So I'm gonna.
I'm too good
No,
with your right. I
no.
have to start with my left.
Yeah. I'm starting over.
Yeah.
As a lefty.
He
No.
got like drumming the first time, wakeboarding the first
No.
time. So now he's like, let's do it in
Yeah.
reverse.
So drums, you need to learn the independence of your four limbs, right?
Yeah.
Your hands and feet are doing something
Okay.
different, and
Yeah.
if you sing, it's something else, and you gotta
Yeah.
separate. So there's a lot of things going on
Yeah.
at the same time.
You're like Rain Man.
Well, almost, I
Just
guess.
like doing all these things. It's pretty cool.
Well, if you looked at my face when I'm playing drums, it's like I have tics. Because it's just like.
I mean, like most musicians, like
For
the
sure.
saxophone is just like.
Yeah,
like,
yeah, no,
making all these like funny faces.
yeah, yeah.
But you're quite the performer. Like I will show you some videos. Like it's just your energy's so like magical. Like
I let it
it's-
out. Well,
you let it
because
out.
I
It's like
lean
out of
into
body
it. I lean
almost.
into it. And
Yeah.
we're only two, so it's like you learn to take up a lot of space, but not, but leave a lot of space for the
For
other
others,
person.
yeah.
So anyway,
To go back to your toothbrush.
yeah. So I've been no, but I've been I draw with my left hand. I write sometimes with my left hand. I've been brushing my teeth now for the 4th week in a row with my left hand.
Is it legible when you write with your left hand?
Yeah.
As
But
legible
it's-
as like
it's-
his right.
No, but it's not so much for
No.
the calligraphy aspect. It's more so I'll draw like squares and I'll just draw drawings and then describe what the drawing is with my left hand. But it's more about that flow state
Right.
that you get into when you're using
Whatever.
your weak hand.
Yeah.
And then look at what your right hand, if you brush your teeth with your right hand for you, look at what your left
My
hand is
left.
doing. It's going to be super weird.
But it's
But you're just separating your
it's the mindfulness exercise. Like we're talking about this. So
Like, sometimes when sometimes
Yeah,
when
go
I
ahead.
DJ, I look kind of stupid because like one of my hands is just
Well,
like.
well, because you're concentrated. Yeah, but
you just look like, and then I'm like,
yeah. Well,
what are you doing?
what?
But yeah,
Well,
sorry.
next time you brush your teeth, do it with your other hand and look at your strong
Yeah.
hand. Anyway.
My strong-
no, but it's interesting because it's like a mindfulness.
Take my good
exercise.
hand. Sorry.
I was talking to a coach and she was saying her name is Samantha Roberto. She's amazing. And she was talking about how, like, if I want to be mindful to do an exercise for this week, every time I drink my coffee, to be like super present, think about how warm it is, so by you doing things with your opposite hand, you're super present when you're doing it versus all these other
Good point.
things that you do. Like it's so stupid.
Out of habit, I guess.
Out of
It's to
habit
break
that you
the habit.
it's such
That's
a
true.
robotic motion. Like one thing that's so embarrassing is like every time I like drop something or I do like that I make a mistake is typically because I have my phone in my hand. And it's so embarrassing because it's like if only my phone wasn't in my hand, I could do so many different things. But because I'm so used to operating a certain way, I don't even think about it until it happens. And I'm like, you're such like, stop doing this. But when you're in the motion of just going through your morning motions, instead of just being like, I wake up, I get out of my bed. I only get out of my bed. I don't do something while I get out of my bed. Then I brush my teeth with my opposite hand
Are
and I
you
hold my
OCD?
coffee. I'm trying to
sorry.
become. No, I'm just kidding. But I'm
I'm aspiring.
Yeah.
to be.
it's my goal for 2024. No, I don't think. I think I try to do too many things at once. I'm like that kind of person that, like, you put the microwave. You know, there's a minute left, and I'm like, how many things can I do with this
During
1 minute?
this minute?
Yes.
Wow. Interesting.
Yeah. So I'm trying to
Beat the
slow
clock.
it down.
Down a little.
Slow it down. Like,
Bring
what
it
did I
back.
do today? 3 things. That's
Not enough.
That's enough. I'm trying to get to this. I'm trying to get to this.
That's good.
Okay, so there's another question, and you guys, because you talked about music a little bit, like, how do you have the audacity to think you have good taste in music? Like, who?
Great delivery.
Like, I
Great
feel
delivery.
like
Great
I-
delivery.
Panic when I get the aux cord. Like, I would not want you to know what music I listen to.
I don't claim to have good taste.
You have
in
like one
music.
song.
I guess as a DJ you have to
Yeah, sorry. I'm gonna say that I have good taste in music. I mean, listen. I think it's subjective. You know, I think everybody has different tastes, and so because of that allowance and freedom to be, it's like, how can you really say if something is good or bad based off of whom? You know, like, so what I present in my sets or what I like may not be. You may not like it. You may love it. Like, you know, it just so depends on whomever. I think I've learned to trust my taste. And I also think that it's funny. A lot of artists, creatives, musicians, whatever, anybody who lives in a creative space, is not necessarily confident in themselves and their taste.
Yeah.
So I've learned to trust my taste with time. So, that's something that, like, I mean, everybody has their little, like, insecurities, or like, oh, maybe this is not good, is it? But you learn to trust your taste. And also, you're kind of a taste maker. So, like, what I decide is good is good. Like, if they don't like it, well, they're not cool.
I dig that answer. That's
But
true.
yeah,
Like,
and I
That's
think
true.
it
I
comes.
like what I like, and
Yeah.
I'm here to share what it is that
Yeah.
I like.
But
Yeah.
also it comes, I find it comes through in when I hear you play, is that like, it's funny, but the confidence of knowing this is what I want you to discover, just like anyone, let's say, who talks to you about something that they're passionate about, if it's really coming from their heart, I'm going to be interested in it, even if it's Bitcoins. Like if you're talking about it with deep passion, like I'm going to be
Bitcoin is where I
interested
draw
in
the
it.
line.
Versus if someone's like trying to be a DJ because they think it's cool, because you sense
You're already not
it's
cool.
almost,
Oh, yeah.
it's just like an energy thing. But I do think so. This summer, when we were talking about booking DJs for the festival and stuff, it was interesting because they kept going towards like DJs from out of town. And as someone who, worked in nightlife for 10 years of my life, started at Fuzzy Brassard as a shooter girl. I love
What
to
up?
flex.
What up?
The
To
girl
then
dancing in the
work
cage.
Huge flex.
huge flex, to working at Tokyo for years, which had like the biggest hip hop night in the country for a long time. And it's interesting to me that people think that we need help from people from out of town, because if anything, I find DJs from Montreal, and I'm curious to see what you think about it, but have such a vast knowledge of music, because they'll play like a song for the Haitians, a song for, everyone in the room in French, and everyone in the room at one point from going out a lot will know music from all types of different cultures. They won't be like, well, I don't know this, I'm not vibing to it. Like if they go out all the time. So do you feel like being from Montreal or being with someone that somewhere that has such a cultural background, DJs have access and can, show a more vast
I think
range of music?
ultimately, like, Montreal is a very multicultural and diverse city to begin with. So whether it's food, music, entertainment, we just have so much going on and so many different cultures. We've also all grown up around so many different cultures and so much multicultural things. So I think that, you're right. I think like we do have a very global kind of view and feeling of things in terms of taste, because we've been exposed to so many different things, as opposed to like, let's say like the guy from Cincinnati that, like, I don't know, I've never been there, but maybe Cincinnati.
No, but
like,
I say this
I don't
even
know.
like I have friends from Los Angeles who look at my stories and they go, oh, it's so cool in Montreal. Everyone just hangs out together. When he saw we're like at a baby shower and there's like Haitians and Spanish and everyone just hang out. And I'm like, well, I don't know if this is a Montreal thing, but this is my Montreal. And sometimes you feel like maybe because that's not what's necessarily represented in media or within the people who have the power to pick what we pick from Montreal to see, then people assume we're only one facet, when really if we wanted to do something different and we're like, let's start by looking if we have it here before we go looking outside.
I think it's, so I'm from Montreal.
Yeah.
Identity or identity crisis has always been something that's been near and dear.
Yeah.
Being from, being the firstborn here, my parents are born in different countries. It's like you at some point you grow up and you're like, okay, where am I from? What is this my home? Is where my parents from? Is that my home?
Yeah.
And then you speak, I don't know if you had this, but a different way of speaking at home than at school, and then with friends, and then the food, and then realizing, oh, I'm kind of different, but I'm not different. And you want to be like everyone else, but you want to be your own person. And I think that for me, that was the first time I was like, no, what's cool is what I grew up with, and that's what makes me feel good.
Right.
But you said something interesting, like when you say we in Montreal, I realize that we grew up with a lot of different cultures, but there's a lot of people that I'm meeting that have not. And I take for granted that everyone is mixed and that everyone has friends from different backgrounds. And I'm not saying that a lot of people are closed, but I just realized not everyone is exposed to this. So our Montreal isn't necessarily the Montreal that is shown culturally
Yeah.
Right.
with grants and
can
all
see
that
that.
system.
And that's what we're trying to change. I mean, like, I have
That's true.
like Lex, for example, you know, like I have a writer who's a friend of mine who's from Panama, and you know his show was on Radio Can, so like he's now like he's changing, and it's a very specific show about Latin culture, you know. So it's like I think, and we talk about representation, we talk about what represents Montreal. So I think slowly but surely we are trying to change that, and I think that that's what we should gear ourselves towards, because it is a very diverse city, and like you said, although that's not everyone's reality, I feel like that's a beautiful thing to showcase.
Absolutely. I think probably the most important thing to showcase, the multifacetedness.
Right. But yeah, like you, it was hard for me because my mom is actually from here, Quebecois. My dad is Moroccan. Religion, everything was different. Everything was like, so too Moroccan for the French Canadians, too Canadian for the Moroccans, because I don't speak Arabic and I'm not Muslim, and like just a lot of
you're this, but you're not that, and you realize everyone tries to put you in the box that they understand, but you don't even understand the box that you're in.
Yeah, or you don't really fit in that box.
Yeah, so then I was like, how much of my identity is how I perceive myself versus how someone else perceives me? And I don't know what this person's frame of reference is.
Right.
So you can go, like, if I go to the States and I go to a gas station, most likely I'm going to be spoken to in Spanish.
Right. Yeah.
I'm not of Spanish descent. No. Luckily, I speak Spanish. But then it's like, it's super weird. It's like, oh, okay, so you expect me to be Spanish speaking. And then in my head, like, yeah, but I'm not.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. Very interesting.
I love that. Okay, so one more question I have for you. What do you want to attract in the next year?
That's a good question. Attract in the next year. I am really career focused right now. So I think last year for me was more about laying the building blocks of what I've been trying to create. And I feel like this year is really just more stepping more into that. So attracting more opportunities, more abundance, more great experiences, just more of everything that I've been experiencing for the last 2 years, which have been awesome. I feel like I've really stepped into who I am. So yeah, just really expanding on that and becoming the best version of myself.
That's beautiful to hear. Yeah. And you definitely have a glow.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
No,
it's from someone who doesn't know me. That's great.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
I can see why you're friends. I can see why your battery is charged.
Yeah,
but it's true too. It's like I remember like meeting you and thinking, oh, she's so cool, blah, blah, blah. And now I think she's even cooler.
She's not cool.
I got to know her, but once I saw more of her vulnerable side, because she was kind of someone who like, because you are so strong and so
vulnerability. That's a good one.
But when I saw that vulnerable side that we really opened up, it was like, oh no, I connect with this person on such a deep level, and it was easy to connect in that sense. And I think it's like right now, it's for me when I meet people and I feel this way, I'm like, oh, it means I'm in a really good place because I'm in such an authentic place. Exactly.
Agreed.
That when I meet someone, and often, very, very often, it's people that are multidimensional, have so many different interests. Like, it's like there keeps, as I get to know, there's always like more and more layers to discover. So it's always kind of interesting. And it's kind of the same experience I have with you. Like, we'll just be on a call talking about the pod, and then we're having a pod on the phone.
A pod about the pod.
But vulnerability, I think that the ability to make yourself vulnerable for yourself and for someone else, I think it's
like a dial that you gauge. And I think that, interestingly to what you were saying, like, I think I'm a little more reserved as a person. So maybe that's what you get as a first kind of, like, I'm just a little bit more reserved.
Yeah.
But then once I feel comfortable, then I really open up. And then the dial for the vulnerability is like, you know, you kind of learn being vulnerable with everyone versus not being vulnerable at all. It's like, okay, where do I feel safe and comfortable to open up and be that vulnerable person, right? So, I mean, that's a testament to you, because if I was feeling comfortable to be vulnerable with you, it's because you made me feel comfortable.
Yeah. No, I think it's great.
Well, thank you both. It's nice to meet you.
That was a good hang, guys.
Yeah, good hang.
Good job.
Yeah.
Thank you.
High five.
Yay.